Hi, and welcome back to InfoSec Online. So today is a bit more casual. I was thinking about this idea of how we can use AI to help us to get your SOC job. I think in this current market, there's a lot of information out there. There's so many courses, so many advice, and most of the time, these courses are not free. And you really do need a very focused, personalized way to get your roadmap up for you, and especially some of you who are intending to become a SOC. I was thinking if we could use Chatgpt to assist us on how we can get you into this industry and maybe further your career in cybersecurity from there. So the idea or the hope is to be able to utilize the knowledge and its ability to crawl through the net. And I'll just go through some of the ChatGPT's response. I've already inputted them and asked ChatGPT, but I want to get my reactions on what they produce, and we'll see whether this is actually a viable way for you to utilize. And if you like it, feel free to sign up for OpenAI and try out for yourself whether this is going to be very useful for you. For me, this is going to be very interesting. It's quite exciting because I love AI and its ability to construct answers that actually might be useful is something that is very interesting for me, especially for us who are very busy. You've already got another job. You don't have the time to go through course after course. You don't have the money to always go through different courses only to find out that it's not useful or it's not helpful at all. So if this one tool is able to solve all our problems, this would be perfect. Alright, so just to start things off, I've already created a few things to look up into. So these are the things that I feel I want the ChatGPT to answer for me. So I've created 3 stages. One before SOC, something to help you when you are going through your interview phase. And the next thing is that once you land into an SOC job, whether it will be able to advise you on road mapping you into something further. So before SOC, I was hoping that you'd be able to advise me on what I can do, what are the future things that I need to prepare, what are the fundamental things that I should really get myself into before I even start looking out for the jobs. I was thinking of how well it is able to challenge us and giving us questions that will help us in our future skills evaluation. And I also want to know how well it's able to adjust to what we're able to know. Because for some of us, we might be very good in programming already. We may have some experience in cybersecurity or threat hunting in our own personal projects. Is it able to adapt and give us other suggestions? Then we'll be moving into SOC interview. So I'm hoping, and I'm probably going to be reacting to the kind of response that it's giving me. Maybe what are some of the interview tips. I'll give my thoughts on it. Interview practice questions, and most of all, organizational checks. So maybe you have a invitation for a interview for one of these organizations, and there isn't a lot of information out there, or you don't have the time to scrape the information, and you want to know whether it's a good place to work at. I want to see whether ChatGPT is able to do that research for you. And after that, when we go into skills future, after you land your SOC job, of course, you don't want to just stay in your SOC. Maybe you have more further plans to specialize. I want to see whether ChatGPT is able to give you that advice needed. So hopefully we'll be able to go through some of its own responses, and then I'll be reacting and giving my opinions to it, and then after that I'll give my conclusion of whether this would be a good tool for you to actually consider doing. So first thing first is that there are a few rules that I'm I'm going to set myself. So the first rule will be that the challenges, the prompts, I'm only going to input once. So I'm not going to refine the inputs because it kind of defeats the purpose, right? If I'm going to refine it to what I want to see, then it's not an accurate representation of what you might be getting if you do your prompts to Chatgpt as well. The second rule is that with all this information, I'll be trying to give you my assessment of whether how accurate it is, how useful it could be from my own experience as a SOC in the past. So just to let you know, I was an SOC for close to about 2 years, and from there I'll hopefully be able to evaluate the kind of answers Chatgpt would give. So what I did was that I've already inputted all the prompts inside and allowed Chatgpt to produce the outputs. So let's see what we get. So the first is, let's go to chat. So the first question will be an advice for us on what are the kind of skills and soft skills that we'll probably need to learn before we even set out this whole journey to become an SOC. So let's see what the Chatgpt has given us. So let's see. So this is the prompt that I have used. And so it says some of the technical skills are network fundamentals, which is quite true. Yes, that's very, very important. Operations systems, security tools and technology, getting familiar with SIEM, yes, then, and IPS and firewalls. So far, so good. And most of the skills that they're recommending, I think for myself in one of the earlier videos that I've done, I've also already pointed out these are the things that you should really be trying to get yourself into. Cybersecurity basics, they shared about phishing, ISO 27000. Okay, so this ISO 27000 is really a good suggestion because in most organizations at this point in time, they do follow certain standards in the industry that are shared among all the organizations, and it's the industry standards of how to handle and deal with information security in a company. So being able to know the framework for that is actually very useful, and so that's actually a very good advice. So some of the soft skills is analytical thinking, communication, being able to report writing well, problem solve, and intention good. So far, all the experiences, all the suggestions that he's been giving are pretty good. I do feel that it's not bad. So it also did say about how we can consider going for certifications and suggested CCNA, which is, I agree, that's a very good consideration. CISSP and CEH. Actually, I would say that CEH is more for something for a beginner, so it's not really needed for something to be advanced in. So if you can go for CEH, you should go for it, right? Use platforms such as Udemy and Coursera. So for me personally, I feel Udemy is much better. Coursera seems a bit limited, so that's also still not bad for a suggestion. Networking, join some cybersecurity communities. So conferences, DEF CON and Black Hat conferences, well, it's okay, but these conventions usually are quite expensive and they do require you to pay for entry. So I'm not very sure whether it's helpful, especially if you're a beginner. A lot of the information and a lot of things that are suggested there might go above your head because they're pretty advanced when it comes to things in convention. Yeah. Entry-level desk job, yes, that's a fantastic suggestion. So you were saying about getting into maybe IT support or a desk role, a help desk role to start yourself going into it. Yeah, so being able to put your foot into the door in tech and cybersecurity as your first job to jump into SOC is actually a fantastic suggestion. Alright, so not bad for the first suggestion for this response. Alright, so I would say that nice is pretty good. Alright, so let's move on to the next one where we're talking about where I'm asking Chatgpt how it could challenge us and test us and allow us to practice our knowledge to see that what are some of the gaps that we need to work on, right? So this is my prompt that you can use if you would like to. So it was saying technical challenges, building up your home lab. Yeah, you can do that, making your virtual environment. So I've created a video that you can consider going into. It can be a simple 2 virtual boxes just connecting to each other, and you can start doing things to each other. That's one way you can do about it. But for me personally, I didn't have to go create any home lab. I was lucky enough to have a friend to send me the home lab, but I didn't really test it, and I think that it's not really necessary before entering. The idea that you need it is to be familiar with outputs that you'll be receiving as an SOC. You don't necessarily need the home lab for it. Yeah. Capture the flags, like try hack me or hack the box. So that's a good suggestion. I've been using hack the box for the longest time, and it's been a real eye-opener for me. From my early days, I've always been focused on the fact that if you know the way an attacker attacks you, you are far better at defending. And what I recently got this insight from watching another video that really hit me is that you can't secure something if you don't understand it. And Hack the Box and Try and Hack Me are platforms of how hacking works, and so it allows me to understand so that I know how to counter them. Analysis, collection, right? Yep, so those are the things that they are telling me to take note of. Yes, I need to see whether I've got these skills. Yes, the threat hunting, I agree, that's not bad. Resources. So when it comes to resources, it seems a bit general. I don't see like it's very useful in any way. So they were saying about this SANS course that you can consider going to. So I personally went into a SANS course for forensics analysis. From my understanding, these courses are very, very expensive. They go up to 10k and above sometimes, and I know that some of you might not be able to effectively pay for such courses. So for me, I would feel that one of the best suggestions I can get into is that just hold off on these expensive courses, high SANS courses. They're good to have, I agree, but there are within the SANS Institute better courses, I would feel. You don't need to necessarily go for such course to get yourself into SOC. Yeah, so not really agreeing with this last suggestion. Participate in internships and volunteer work. Yes, that's fantastic. A suggestion to get some internship to get experience into it. But a little caveat about this is that for internships and volunteer work, some organizations are a bit sensitive about the kind of information that they're sharing with temporary staffs. Yeah, so they do sometimes restrict the kind of things you're able to see, so your experience might be limited, right? So that's just something to take note. So for the next part, challenges, I would say it's a bit generic and it's not very useful. I think it's not as useful as the advice, definitely. So let's go into personalizations, skill evaluation. So this was the one that I was quite excited about. I wanted to know whether it can create like personalized tests there to test my skills on whether I am able to get into SOC and where I can work into. And so before we go into anything, this is the first time I'm going through all the prompts as well. I forgot to put this at the start, but yeah, so this is all new to me, first time reading them, and so far it's been quite interesting. So let's get into it. Technical skills. Objective, testing your understanding of basic security concepts, explain the difference between a firewall and intrusion detection system. Oh, that's a fantastic question. So knowing the difference of the different tools that you have. So firewall is basically the walls, or basically the blockage that you instill into your environment to make sure that certain networks and connection and packets go through and certain connections are blocked, right? Intrusion detection system is is something like a CCTV camera that allows us to monitor the different traffics that are going around within your environment and to try to detect if there's any anomalies or malicious events going on within that network. So that's the difference between them. Roles of VPN. Oh yes, that's a very, very important thing. VPNs are almost like a constant in all organizations. So being able to know about VPNs, the way it functions and how it works is very important to know. Purpose of DMZ in a network architecture. So some of the servers and devices require internet connection. It requires a certain flexibility when it comes to being able to interact with the external parties. And so DMZ is basically a zone where organizations can set certain parameters and further restrictions or measures needed in order to monitor these devices that require it to communicate outside of its organization. Yeah, so that's so far very good. All the questions that I'm asking are something that really, if you're able to answer, I would feel that you're quite ready for it. So incident responses, yes, that's definitely it. Components of a response plan. So in this part, they are sharing about what are the key components of an incident response plan. So you got your detection, then moving on into informing, investigations, you got your containment, and your remediation, and after that your post plan, setting measures and preventive measures, and how that feedbacks to your threat intelligence, and that will work into your incident response for the future incident responses. Wow, so I'm loving the questions that they're asking. So I would definitely feel that if you're quite confident in the answers that you're giving, the questions that they're providing, I feel that you have a good chance of actually getting an SOC job. Let's see, recommended resources. Blue teaming, yeah, that's a very good one. I've read that one before. Network security monitoring basics for beginners. I haven't heard of that book before, so take that with a pinch of salt. AI does hallucinate, so I'm not very sure whether these books are truly there or whether they're fake. But if they are truly there and they're real, that's really a good recommendation too. For this part, check, that's a really good prompt from them. So let's move into SOC interviews. So the idea is that you want to know whether they are able to guide you through and prepare you for the interview questions that you'll be going through. Right, so this is the prompt that I did, so to help provide some interview tips. So let's see. Understanding basic SOC basics, familiar with your SOC roles. Okay, the information that I'm seeing so far is rather generic. I would feel that it requires you to further research on these things, but it does allow you to lead you to the right path into certain things. Security tools. Oh yeah, okay. The security tools and technologies are pretty good. I do feel that the recommendations for that is very, very good. But other than that, I think some of the things that they are recommending are rather generic. Okay, yes, technical questions. I'm not feeling the questions. I feel the questions are too generic for interview. Even for SOC interviews, most of organizations do probably give much more technical questions than these. These are far too technical. So from my own experience, I do see some organizations there where they will give you a network diagram and they will actually require you to know where to put the IPS or IDS, or where to put the firewall, where's the best way to put your access points, and within the topology, what can you do to configure to increase its security, reduce the risks, and and they'll be asking you, oh, so what are the incident response protocols? And I don't see it at this point in time right here. So it'll be like, in the event, what should you be doing? Then the answer would be, you need to follow a playbook that will allow us to categorize the different severities and threats and what to do after that. Yeah. So I'm not really feeling the responses for this. So interview tips is a bit bad. I think maybe more fine-tuning, maybe further prompts to Chatgpt might actually give us a better response. But overall, the prompts, the suggestions that they're giving at this point in time, is a bit generic. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. So the next one we'll be going into would be interview practice questions, right? So like I said, this interview practice questions will be quite definitive. This will allow us to know whether we are prepared and ready for it. So let's see whether some of the questions that they provide are real life questions that you probably be expecting. So it says, what is a security operations center? What are the roles and importance of it in the organization? That's too generic. Most likely you won't be asked this question at all. Discussion on intrusion functionality and use cases. Like I said before, most of the time when it comes to IDS and IPS, they'll probably just give you a network diagram, and to test whether you know your stuff, they'll ask you to recommend and implement it within the network diagram. Explain the concept of SIE. For this kind of questions, most of the time organizations will probably ask you what kind of SIAM logging ability that you've been going into. One of the things that most of organizations will be looking out for is your ability to know the language to extract the information. So for instance, Splunk has its own language system to filter out the information that the logs are going through. ArcSight has its own way of doing things, and even your simple syslog has its own way of trying to extract out information. One tip is the framework that you need to remember is always to start broadly, then narrowing it down, like maybe through its time frame, checking its IOCs, checking behavior, TTPs, right? So always start from broad, and then you work your way down and funnel through the threads or whatever is important for you, the points of interest. So far, all the questions that they are providing us a little bit generic. MITRE attacks is not going to come up very often, but in relation to MITRE attacks, because MITRE attacks actually use a framework called the kill chain framework that may be tested on by organizations during the interview. Other than that, judging from all the questions I'm seeing, it's like I said, it's too generic. Explain but the hands-on technical questions, now that is something that's important. Hands-on technical question is really good. So they were provide an example of an SIEM rule and explain the logic. Now that is something you should expect for coming up. That's really important. That will come up. Explain your approach in analyzing security traffic and identified threats for PCAP file. Yes, that is definitely something that you should take note. So hands-on technical questions are really good. So about the PCAP file, there are cases where during your interview or even before you meet your interviewer, they will have to test your technical skills. They'll sometimes send you a PCAP file and they require you to go through the logs and to analyze and to give them a summary report of basically what you found, what is happening, is there anything malicious going on, is there any malware seen, is there any C2 connection. So C2 is basically, is there any connection to a malicious server site that a threat actor may be using. Yeah, so that's definitely very important. That's very good. Other than that, so for this, I think only the last section of the prompt was really quite useful, the hands-on question. The rest is similar to the previous section, which is it's a bit generic. Okay, organizational tracks. Okay, so this one's the one I'm really excited about. I really hope that it's able to give a accurate read of the current situation of the organization that you're going into. So this will allow you to know whether the case that you're going to be working in, whether it's going to be good, and it gives you a overview of whether it's even worth your effort to go into this interview at all. So as a experiment, I used a previous job that I worked in, which was Ensign Info Security, which is a organization in Singapore that has a few entities in Southeast Asia, right? So I don't work for this company anymore. There's some company in the past. So let's see whether the information is accurate. It may be different, but at least I know something about the company to see whether this is accurate. So employee reviews, various mixed feedback, good company, seated roles, comprehensive offerings, Glassdoor 3.5, aspects. Only gave the good points, didn't give the bad points, but it did say there was mixed reviews on 3.5. Personally for me, when I was working at Ensign, there was an expansion, and I would say, yeah, 3.5. It had its good offerings, but I think the structure was a bit messy at that point of time. There was a lot of changes, and so I'm wondering why Chatgpt, when crawling the net, didn't catch this, but I guess that's pretty okay. Overall, it is a positive experience, so I think it's pretty good and it's something worth trying. You can see that it's going through different firms like Glassdoor and Nordflare, so I'm wondering whether it's actually better to just go direct to the site, but this is definitely a good way to get a summary of all the information. So yeah, not bad. I think it's pretty good. So I'll give it a pass. Alright, so next will be the skill future. So let's see whether it can actually advise you on how it can improve your skills and help you roadmap yourself to the future. So let's start off with skills recommendation. Skills for SOC analysis. For now I'm thinking to improve. What new skills should I learn or master to improve my future career? Advanced detection analysis, learning about Splunk, Arcsine, and QRadar and Logarithm. Honestly, SIEM and SAW, if you ever have a chance to master it quickly, it is a time saver when it comes to threat hunting. So yes, I agree. This is going to be very good. Incident responses, getting sense, getting better at incident responding, and that's pretty much what you're going to be doing. Forensics, yes, correct. That's very good. Network security, deepening your understanding of network protocols. I agree with this. Network security is a never-ending learning journey, and it is a beast to know and master. Network security, honestly, if you can master it, can solve you close to 60% of your problems inside the organization. Truly. The rest will be handling the people inside, because they're usually the weakest link that's causing a lot of malware to enter the organization. But if you set your configuration for your network security correct, a lot of your problems will be solved already. Learning about endpoint security, EDR tools. Agree with the EDR tools. CloudStrike, Carbon Black, SentinelOne. Defender also has it. It's called Microsoft endpoint detection. So that's pretty good. I think in our organization, especially the bigger ones, this is quite useful and handy because it allows SOCs or level 2 analysis to get the logs and information from endpoints much faster. So it's actually a commonplace thing. So getting yourself to know about these things are quite good. So far, not bad. Certifications, yes. So this is perfect. Certifications and its recommendation. I totally agree. These are definitely things that you can consider, especially if you're still going into SOC career, but do take note that as you specialize, I think you might be moving away from SOC. Be prepared to go into other forms of security. Say for instance, your authentication systems, or your log systems, or your certification systems, or your threat hunting. Basically, there's a whole long list of different cybersecurity roles that you can consider. Yeah, always know that SOC is kind of your level 1 stepping stone. Yeah. Okay, so for skills recommendation for your future, I would say it's not bad. If you was out of 10, I'll probably go 7 to 10 or 6 out of 10. Let's go for skills track next. Specialized career paths. Right, so this is the prompt that I use. Basically, I'm thinking of specializing in red team or blue team, and I'm asking to recommend the different skills. So this is where I try to share about letting Chatgpt specifically know that I do not want to be within this SOC analysis role. I do want to break out of it. Let's see what it goes for. Red team pen testing skills, getting burp suite and getting used to Metasploit, burp suite and Nmap. That's true, that's actually quite tools to master. Study methodology, yeah, pretty cool. Mastering Bash, Python and PowerShell. PowerShell, very important. Honestly, even if you're working as an engineer, working for network security, forensics analysis, master PowerShell ASAP. Exploit development for a red team, yes, that's quite true. So this is when you start going into your SANS course or your EC Council for Security Plus, and where you get more specialized certification. These specialized certifications are a bit more worthwhile, and they give a much more value to you when obtaining it. So if you look at my previous video, I was sharing about how there's a correlation between the demand of a certification and how specialized it is. And if you realize that the more specialized and the more in demand a certification is, the more salary you're able to achieve from it. So that's something you should take note as well. Yeah. Blue teaming, threat hunting, yes. Oh yes, also about certification for red hacking. OSCP is beautiful. It's going to be very difficult, but my god, it is going to jump your career. Alright, so OSC is basically a more advanced version of OSCP. Blue teaming skills, threat hunting, yes, that's very true. MITRE attack frameworks, this is something you'll easily master. You don't really need to invest too much effort into it. But in blue teaming, forensics is kind of the way to go around. So forensics is invaluable when it comes to blue teaming. So yeah, I say the prompt is pretty good so far. Let's sound with the suggestions and advice that it's giving. Vulnerability management, being well versed in Nexus, Qualys, and OpenVAS. Yeah, I agree, that's something very useful to learn. For Nexus, what they use is called Tenable, and Tenable is basically a vulnerability checker. So basically all these are vulnerability checkers which will, after they scan and conduct basic penetration testing, they will give you a report and provide recommendations on how to fix or close that issue. So as a blue team, that's quite useful. So this prompt is pretty useful. CISSP, incident response handling. Oh, I love this certification recommendation. These are some of the certifications you should really consider, yeah, because they're quite in demand. In fact, I was just looking through LinkedIn and I found that there are quite a lot of organizations who require these to be there in the first place. Evaluating your skills, you can consider testing it through CTFs, lab work, online courses, certifications. Alright, so this is a bit generic, but I do love the certification recommendations that you can use to further your career in cybersecurity. So I would give a tick for that. Yeah, not bad. Alright, the next one, future plan advice. So this is the one that I believe a lot of you are quite interested. Is whether the Chatgpt is able to devise a roadmap for you, given your current situation, and we'll see whether it'll be really helpful for you, especially if you're a beginner and you have no experience in all this. So my prompts, I said that I'm considering to go into something else other than SOC, and I wanted to create a roadmap for me. So let's see, red teaming, offensive security, penetration tester, roles, ethical hacker. Yep, that is definitely a good suggestion to look into. So yes, it's showing you the different teaming and options that you can go into, compliance and risk. Okay, so this is fantastic. I love these suggestions because sometimes as someone that is outside of this industry, you don't get a chance to see what it has to offer for you. What are the different options that you have if you do consider getting into this industry? So it's very revealing and it's very useful. So one thing that I think it would be very useful for future trends that I'm seeing is that governance, risk and compliance are essential with the increasing threats. Usually most of the time issues that you face technically is preventable based on the tools that we have. Most of the time the weakest link is social engineering, and one of the only ways to really manage the risk is to really set your organization's awareness and set policies and compliance to ensure that a company is in its best security state. And there's been a lot of focus on this in this recent years that I've been noticing. So if you do consider trying to go for something with a bit more money, so this is something you can consider: compliance and governance. Alright, so roadmaps. Oh, I love this. So I love the fact that they give you the short-term goal checkpoints that you should be looking into. Then you have your long-term goals to be going for. So as you go in your medium, SOC, GIH, now that's a very good suggestion. Networking, I love the fact that they're continually focusing on networking. It seems like it kind of understood and picked up the fact that networking is essential when it comes to cybersecurity, right? It's something that can hold the fort quite often, that is inexpensive, because most of the time your organization already have routers and really have firewalls set in place, and if you get to utilize and maximize what you have here, most of the time you can prevent a lot of issues. Long-term goals, GCFA. So I've already got GCFA. I wouldn't say it's a long-term goal. We'll feel that's something in the midterms. To a long-term goal for this would be your CISSP or your CCISO. These are the plan for manager roles and things that you should be considering if you are really trying to move up the ladder in cybersecurity. Right. Overall, I'm loving the recommendations for the roadmap. So I definitely would say that if you really do require a roadmap and you don't know where to start, Chatgpt is fantastic to help you do that. So we've gone through everything already. My overall conclusion is that Chatgpt is fantastic to open your eyes to the different ideas and different options that you could consider going into. When it comes to specifics, I would feel that it lacks a bit of substance, but definitely if you need a way to brainstorm a direction to go into, Chatgpt is a fantastic tool to do about it. So now knowing that OpenAI allows a Chatgpt for Omni to free users, I would say just go for it. Just use Chatgpt to the fullest, and I totally recommend you to allow it to help you get into this industry. Use it to the fullest to get the best of it, and especially love the fact that there are the challenges and practices that you can use for yourself, because I know that out in the mobile and the internet, right, you have a lot of information, and sometimes they seem a bit dubious, but so far the questions that I'm seeing, though general, I do feel that it's definitely something that will be very useful for you. So yeah, I would feel that ChatGPT is definitely a tool that you can use under your belt, and I hope this is something that you like. So drop me a comment if you have any other suggestions that you would like to use ChatGPT for in terms of security, and I would love to test and experiment with it. And I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it very useful. Do consider liking and subscribing. And so until the next video, bye!